Start again, I was rambling. Right, on Wednesday, one of the cases I mentioned was Belle Gibson. Now, a lot of people didn't know who Belle Gibson was. I came across it because I watch random videos on YouTube at like 4 o'clock in the morning, and I came across a video of a 60-minute, an Australian 60-minute episode that she'd done, where she'd been interviewed, and when I heard what was coming out of her mouth, it was concerning, it was worrying, it was almost panic-inducing, what she was saying. And the fact she got away with it for so long makes my skin crawl. Now, Belle Gibson is an Australian scammer, app publisher, blogger and alternative health advocate whose marketing platform was founded on her fraudulent claims of having donated significant amounts of money to charities and having foregone conventional cancer treatment to positively self-manage multiple cancers through diet and controversial alternative therapies. That's how Wikipedia put it, and it's the best way to put it. And the stuff that she did, if it hasn't caused somebody to die, I won't be surprised if it did. There's one point in here I'm going to have to give you a bit of backstory on when I get to it, but it's quite interesting. She had an app called the Whole Pantry, and it was used a lot in the Australian promotion for the Apple Watch. Initially, when this happened, Apple continued with promotion, and then when everything started coming out more in depth, when everything started coming out more in depth, the Apple pulled that, and the apps are no longer available. Also, Penguin have sort of suffered a bit of backlash on this as well, because they were the ones publishing a book, and they therefore had to take some ownership on what happened because they didn't double check the information she was giving them. Now, when you're doing a fact book like that, and your whole claim in the book and on your blog, on everything, is that you have multiple inoperable cancers that you were trying to heal naturally. Now, she never had cancer, and she had no reasonable basis to believe she had cancer. She had scans that showed nothing, and it was shocking that even in the interview she was saying, I believed I had cancer. Yeah, but you were shown the scans and there was nothing on them. Yeah, but I believe I had cancer. It's like, well, if you've shown the scans that show nothing, but you still believe you've got cancer. Now, I can understand it fixing in the early stages, but she was saying that it wasn't. It was a sizable tumour that they couldn't operate on, that they couldn't remove. So she was doing alternative therapies instead of chemo and radiation, which was a bit odd. Now, in March of 2015, a lot of reporting bodies in Australia started to realise that a lot of things didn't add up. She was saying she'd donated money to charity, but there was no proof of that. When they contacted the charity, they were saying there was no donation under that name or to that quantity in those dates. Also, the expenditure she has was not conducive to the lifestyle she said she had. She had a upmarket townhouse, she was leasing a luxury car, an office space, she had cosmetic dental procedures, I wish, design clothes and holidaying internationally, and they figured out that the money that she was using for that was the money that she'd actually raised for charity, and she was spending it on herself. Other stuff that she advocated for was drinking unpasteurised milk, was not vaccinating your children. Now, in this country, I don't know what the laws are, but I'd hazard a guess and say that if you're not vaccinated, the schools have an issue with it. it's even more so in Australia. If your children are vaccinated, I don't think your children are allowed into the schools until they have been vaccinated. And the other issue is that if they aren't vaccinated and going to school, they could potentially make the other kids ill. Now, there are a lot of people that are anti-vaccine. They're saying that my child was never the same since he had his vaccinations. When babies have their vaccinations, they are just that, they are babies. And their personality and their brain doesn't develop to a point of whether they have autism or not until a little bit later on in life. And it's then that the behaviourism quirks that are associated with any form of autism starts to present. They don't present as babies, so it's like, you know, some people are unfortunately autistic. I have a cousin that's autistic, so it is extremely common for people to say, "Oh, I immunised my child and that's what caused the autism." No, there's no scientific basis for that. Also, the immunisations that we have as infants and as teens have a positive influence on the fact that the child mortality rates that were in place 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago are no longer at that extreme level, because we are now immunised against certain things. There's a bit of a story on this. On the research that I've done, there was actually a case in Australia where a child had died from drinking raw unpasteurised milk. Now, I have a bit of a story on this. My mother-in-law was raised on a farm, and her and her sisters used to drink milk straight from the cow. Not literally, but they milk the cow and then drink it. There wasn't a step in the middle. And she ended up with bovine TB. And we're going back some time ago. And it was before she was due to be immunised against TB. I think she wasn't that old. I think she was about 7 or 8. She's fine. She's completely fine now. But it's one of those things that unpasteurised milk can cause the transfer of TB from cattle to humans, and that's why we pasteurize milk, is to get rid of things like TB, because the tuberculosis infection goes into the bloodstream, gets into the milk, and is transferred over. It's very much like if a mother has a cold and she's breastfeeding, the child might, you know, it gets the antibiotics and the antibodies from the mum, so potentially the child might not show signs of the cold, but that's because her mum's already fighting the infection, so her body's already fighting the infection because she's already got the antibodies in her system. So, but after this, there was a case of a child that died because the parents had given them raw unpasteurised milk, which is an issue. There is also a case, I will send you up in the iCard to the videos on the 60-minute episode of this particular case in the JK News episode, because when you watch the video of the interview, I've only recently found out she actually got paid for that interview, which I think is disgusting, but I think it was the only way for him to actually get her in the place where they wanted her, and then obviously say, right, this is the evidence we've got, this is the proof we've got. And she was like, I believed, and it's like, she had no reason to believe. The initial blog post that she had where she said that she had cancer, she said she was in hospital recovering from an operation. She wasn't, she was at home, and she was 17 or 18. She also claimed not to remember how old she was, and she'd given people several ages. So the prevailing opinion is that she was born in October 1991. Whether or not that is true, I don't know. The whole issues weren't actually discovered and raised to people's attention until 2015. And it was only through the intense research that the press had done that they figured out things didn't add up. As a result of all this, there have been a couple of lawsuits, and I'm hoping that the death of the child has nothing to do with her. There was also a case that the 60 Minutes interviewer brought up where there was a young lad that also had brain cancer, and Belle was close to the parents, and they'd talk and they'd discuss things, and apparently Belle had used the information she'd get from the parents to bolster her claims on the fact that she had brain cancer, and she was also using that as like a getting information. But there was also speculation that the fact that she was saying stuff like that to a young boy, that it may have actually harmed the child in the long run, because we don't know if what she did has had any influence over the child and his decision to go forward or not go forward with medical help. They didn't go too much into that. Now, this case specifically shows how dangerous it is. The amount of people we've had on YouTube that have been questioned on the fact that things don't make sense, and they try and spin it, and they try and spin it, and they try and spin it, and eventually something like this is going to happen, where somebody's just going to literally put a pin in it and say, look, this is the truth, this is what's going on, you need to admit it, and then they'll admit it. Like I said, there was lawsuits. But we'll go into the thing. In March of 2015, media reported identifying Gibson's claims were fraudulent of charity fundraising and donation making. Further media investigation revealed that Gibson also had apparently fabricated her stories of cancer and lied about her age, as well as other details of her personal life and history. Claims were made when detailing the many inconsistent Gibson's claims of medical history. Her social media base collapsed pretty much as soon as these things started to come out, and in an interview, Gibson admitted that her claims of cancer had been fabricated, stating none of it was true. On the 6th of May 2016, Consumer Affairs Victoria announced that it would be taking legal action against Gibson and the company she once owned that now has a different name, and this is a quote from them, false claims by Miss Gibson and her company, her diagnosis with brain tumour, her rejection of conventional cancer treatments in favour of natural remedies, and the donation process of charities. Penguin Australia, Penguin is the company that printed a book, publishers of Whole Pantry cooperated with the investigation and agreed to make a $30,000 Australian dollar donation to the Victoria Consumer Law Fund, acknowledging that it had not taken adequate steps to verify what Gibson had said. And on March the 15th this year, 2017, the federal court supported most of those claims, concluding that Miss Gibson had no reasonable belief that she had cancer. I don't know, like I said, I don't know if there's any deaths associated with this case. I hope there isn't. If there is, I sounds nasty, but I hope that the appropriate people take the appropriate measures in ensuring that she has to pay, she's made to pay for what she's done. Now, when it comes to publicising medical conditions, I don't have an issue with that. Come on, I mention in multiple videos about mine, but I don't tell people this is how mine's being treated and that's how you should treat yours, because it's individual based on family history, etc. Now, those that try and say you should have yours treated the same way I'm having mine treated, it's like there is a lot of difference between the medical influence, the medical process, where not only from town to town, from county to county in the US, even here in the UK, city to city, state to state in the US, or country to country, it differs. And the way that they treat different things is different. And it's like over here, there's certain drugs that are quite prevalent in America that over here aren't that prevalent. Like Vicodin is one of them. And a lot of it is problematic because if you take the word of a social media personality and say, this is why I'm treating my condition the same way they're treating theirs, it worries people because you don't know, like with this case, you don't know if they're telling the truth or if they're lying. You don't know if they are being honest with you. You have no idea, you have no knowledge of that. And it's concerning in almost every sense of the word. It is really concerning. And it hurts when I see comments from people that say, I've seen this girl who's taking Joy's advice, or I've seen this girl and they're doing the same, you know, they're saying that they're going to treat their illness the same way that X is treating their illness. And it worries me, it concerns me, and it scares me. But just because somebody's treating their condition the same way doesn't mean everybody should be treating theirs the same way, even if it's the same condition. So, but at the end of the day, I had my diagnosis before I came onto the platform properly. I've had my diagnosis now for about 3 years, 3 or 4 years I think, and I've been like this now for 8 years, nearly 9, and it's one of those things that, yeah, you can get frustrated because there's certain things that the doctors won't and can't do, but you've got to remember that they're doing that for your best interests. It's like my doctors won't put me on morphine until I'm at least 55. I've got another 20 years yet. But it's one of those things that because I'm so young, they don't want to ravish my body with morphine, because it is a nasty drug. And a lot of these drugs are nasty drugs, and they're extremely strong and they're extremely potent, and not treating other conditions and not having certain things done is worrying and concerning, and it worries people. Anyway, rant over. Next week, hopefully my head will calm down with relation to what happened with Joy this week. I'm not ready to make a video because if I do, I'm going to be extremely mad. Because at the minute it is taking me a lot to control my anger whenever I think about that situation. So I'm just trying to calm down first, and then I'll talk about it, because at the minute... But with that being said, stay safe, have fun. You will see us over the weekend. We'll see some in between two ideas, but I'm hoping to do... I'll talk to the husband and see what he thinks, but I'm thinking we might do a video about... because I've just gone over 100 subscribers, so we might do like a little congratulations video where we have a bit of a chat and stuff. I don't know yet, so we'll see. And I'll see you next week. I'm probably talking about Joy again. She's exhausting, she really is. It's like sometimes you just wonder what's going on in her head. Anyway, stay safe, be good, have fun, and I will see you over the weekend.